Hello, and welcome to episode 4 of the Harmony Hustle podcast. My name is Sean, and today I have Martin Lane on to come and have a chat.
Yo, how we doing?
Yeah, mate. Are you saying hello to me or the listeners?
Both of you.
Yeah, mate, I'm good. It's nice to see you. It's been a while.
It's been a while, isn't it?
Yeah, man. I thought you'd be a really sick person to have come on and chat to you because, you're in basically every band.
Well, I'm in a few projects.
In the entirety of Wiltshire, and someone whose basically sole income comes from gigging. And
yeah, I wouldn't call it a living.
No.
But it is fun. I do enjoy it.
Yeah, man. You got gigs coming up as well, actually. On I think I spoke about it with Paul on the last episode for his birthday. You're gigging on the 23rd, right?
We're 23rd of May at the Vic.
In Old Town.
With Men in Vests and the Crows. No,
Men in Vests and the
Crows.
Man
in the bass in both situations.
Yeah.
Someone's got to carry them. Amazing band. Amazing bands.
The Crows,
both of them, to be
Men
fair.
in Vests. Yeah. It's one man in a vest, really, and I've never seen you once wear a vest.
I never wore a vest.
When I was in the band, it was only me and
it's a bit of
Alex.
a misnomer.
Yeah, it's a couple of men in vests. So do you play bass in all the bands that you're in?
No, bass guitar tends to be very useful.
Yes.
So you end up if you're willing to play much bass, you'll end up playing a lot of bass.
Yeah.
It's the less glamorous job, but you do kind of hold things down along with the drum section.
Bassists seen,
make a decent
not heard,
rhythm section,
but when they're not there, you notice it massively.
Oh, you know it.
Underrated bassists are. I've recently been playing the bass guitar. I wouldn't say learning because I've just sort of transferred my skills from guitar to bass.
It does translate over quite nicely, to be fair.
Yeah, it does. I think doing it the other way around possibly a lot more difficult. I don't know.
When I first started learning, I started on originally I had an acoustic guitar.
Mm-hmm.
I thought I'd go out in the shed and sit and work away at it, and that never happened. But I got the acoustic guitar anyway. And then after so I had a vague notion of it. And my dad played anyway, so he showed me a few bits here and there. But I picked that up and then put it down for ages. And then a friend of mine showed me some bass licks on a bass guitar. And so I had enough callousing on the fingers and slight coordination to sort of get my head around that. Just a few basic scale or two. And once I got used to that, it sort of translated across from there back to the guitar, and then I could pick up all that stuff a lot easier.
It's all about those transferable skills. My signal's a lot more quiet than yours. Sorry, guys. I'll have to cut that shit out. Hello.
You have to dub you in.
God, I can hear a lot of popping when you talk.
It's not me. It's just my popping personality.
Yeah. I'm hoping it's not. I can't hear it when I talk. Well, anyway, where were we? You mentioned your dad's teaching you stuff. It's I basically asked this with all the guests that come on. Sort of, how did you first get started in music? How did your musical journey take off?
That's roughly speaking the story initially, and then got involved in playing with some music projects with him because sort of he played for many years, but he basically bullied his brothers.
Okay, into what, being musicians?
Into playing, because they lived out in Orr in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah,
and they didn't have a great deal of other entertainment going on. So his entertainment was to make them all play instruments whether they liked it or not. That seemed to be, that was the impression I got. I'm sure they all gravitated towards it in their own ways.
Nice.
But and then I got involved in playing stuff with him. My brother got involved in playing, and eventually, after a while, I bought a drum kit and had it set up in the living room. And our neighbours, we lived in a terrace house, but neighbours on each side were deaf at the time. I was like, not after, but yeah, it was just the luxury of it growing up. So we could have drum kits set up in literally in the front room, by the windows,
Yeah.
And in a terrace house and play it, and never had any problems, no complaints. You could go in the other room and watch the TV quite happily.
Yeah.
With it, you'd hear it tapping away a bit in the background, but it was surprisingly not annoying.
No.
You'd expect it to be really annoying, but if you like played it, it's a bit sensible and all that.
I get kind of self-conscious playing in this house with the guitar up loud. So luckily, with the amazing power of technology, I can just use the DAW like Logic and use amp sims and just plug it into my headphones.
Amp sims way forward.
Yeah, yeah.
That's where we cut to our sponsor.
Yeah, no sponsor. I'm not doing none of that. Not yet, anyway.
Oh, you'll sell your soul before long. As soon as anyone offers you, like free coffee for your guests.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Oh, mate. I think I could probably do it less.
I'll sell my soul. Anyone want to buy a soul? It's like, I'll trade it for some talent.
Do the Bob Dylan. That's the theory, isn't it? That he sold his soul to the devil so he could make great music. But yeah, so was bass guitar the first instrument you sort of started on?
So it's pretty much bass guitar.
Okay.
Sort of between that and electric guitar.
Because you do everything. Like
I do a bit of the main sort of ones that
keyboards.
I do a bit of those things.
Drums.
I don't do like a great deal. I don't do it to any like really great depth.
I've seen you in a band and you were playing keys and singing.
I do like keys.
Yeah, you did a
keys makes me think though. It's like my brain starts to overheat after a while because you're doing lots of trying to assemble lots of disparate concepts.
Yeah,
small little bits and patches and layers into something coherent, and it might on its own be very simple. And usually the simpler the better in those situations up to a point.
Yeah.
Just but trying to assemble that together is like you keeping track of lots of small little things. Or at least the keyboard is, if you can get one and program it in and set up. The amount of time and effort that goes into that, working out, trying to keep it condensed down and simple.
Yeah.
That's where the effort goes. But it's 20 times the effort of playing a guitar or a bass. Not to knock any guitar or bass players.
No. I mean,
it's at least 40 times the effort of playing the drums.
I think it just comes down to what your I think it just comes down to what your sort of first instrument is. Like for me, it's always been guitar. I do mess around with the keys as well, but it's like you said. I've got to think more about what I'm doing, so I don't actually know what the chords are. I'm just like I have to kind of fiddle around a bit. So
also because you can take it so many different ways and different places with a keyboard.
Synths.
Once you sit there and start playing around with synthesizers, that's without tuning any of them voices in or creating them from scratch, God forbid.
Oh yeah, me and Paul were talking about this in the last episode and how it's so overwhelming. Looking at oscillators and moving things around to try and create sound
in the first place. It's like I haven't really dabbled with any of that.
I'm just going to adjust the 5. Oh, you're right, Matt.
He's just adjusting me.
Just adjusting me. I'm not needing my cost you as well. Hello. Oh, there we go. That's better. Fuck me. Right. We made it a couple of minutes in and an F-bomb dropped.
Don't fucking swear.
Yeah. Paul in the last episode, he was on about bands. And
potty mouth, isn't he?
He mentioned a band called Slut Dragon that he's gotten into. I've just referenced it again.
Definitely get banned.
And then he was like, "Oh no, it's called Slut Garden," and I was like, "That's so much worse."
I've been there.
It's like a Slut Garden.
I remember that place.
Yeah, mate. It opens at 3 a.m. No. I think I've turned you down too much now. Oh my god, this is a work in progress, people.
They'll fix it in post. Be right.
Oh god, yeah. Let's say something cool.
Cool.
That works.
Nice to see you.
Yeah. Fucking hell, we've devolved into Arnold Schwarzenegger impressions.
Oh my god.
So, with
I'm about doing another one of them.
What's that?
I don't know. I've seen somewhere they wanted Mr. Freeze back.
Oh, good lord!
That would be amazing.
You've seen that original movie, right?
Can you imagine?
You've seen that movie, yeah?
I've seen the one with Arnie in it.
Yeah, Batman and Robin. It's awful. It's one of
it's the best kind of awful.
I think it is. It's so
my favourite
bad.
kind
It's
of
good.
awful.
But God, we doing what me and Paul did the other day, just digressing, talking about movies.
Yeah, this is strictly music talk. Strictly music
it's
talk.
not. I mean, Batman and Robin has a soundtrack.
It does have a soundtrack.
I can't remember any of it. Like, it doesn't stand out particularly well from memory.
Yeah, that bit. Da, 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 da. No, I nearly devolved into Smurfs.
Alvin and the Chipmunks. Oh my God. So yeah, with all these, like,
I'm not liking this. His waves are bigger than mine now.
Oh, are they?
Yeah.
For fuck's sake.
That's not fair.
God. Yeah.
I refuse. It's in my rider. It's like my waves must be bigger than the host at all times.
You got coffee.
Yeah.
Although I'm sat right up close to the mic. So
probably be it then.
yeah, there you go. So
is that better?
Pull the mic closer to you.
Okay.
What's that?
Bum, 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 bum.
This episode's
That's a little better.
a mess. Oh, right. Anyway, what was my question?
It was like that when I got here.
What was my question? Yeah. So all these bands you're in then. Some of them are cover bands.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them, one of them's originals.
Tell
me about your
two
originals.
and an occasional third.
So two and a quarter, or two and a half bands, originals ones. The Lanes. That's the one I've seen.
We that's mainly a covers band.
Oh, my mistake. Which is the one where
we did a Lanes original gig a while back, which
in Old Town.
Yeah, in the castle in Old Town. We've got another one coming up in a month or so.
What's the name of that band?
Still currently called the Lanes.
Okay, so you got the Lanes.
The Lanes originals.
You got the Lanes cover band and the Lanes originals band. Yeah. So it's two lanes.
A genius naming.
Music. Yeah.
Genius name.
How long did it
system.
take you to figure that one out?
Well, I had a massive, great big list of clever names.
Yeah. Such
as I can't remember most of them.
The Lane.
They ain't that clever.
You got down to Lanes. You'd be like, do you know what? That works for the other band. I'm going to use that.
I thought, I'll keep it simple and people are appreciative. I'll keep it to the point.
But Lanes, I've seen them. They do those covers, and then you can
mix
pull
them
the
up.
old switcheroo. And be like, ha-ha. You have to listen to.
That's a big. That was a big deal for me because I hadn't played my own original stuff much. Done a token song here and there.
That's the first one I'd heard of a gig of you doing where you're doing the original stuff. So
yeah, man, that's the only one
I enjoyed. No, I enjoyed it. It's really cool.
It was lovely to get out and just, and especially with the work that Chris put in, the work that Dan put in, and we'll do it again, plenty. I just got to get round to organising it.
So for those who don't know,
we got a few lined up.
What kind of style is?
That's a because I write all sorts of stuff, but like I tend to track it up in MIDI and that, like how I'd play everything.
Yeah. I've heard some of the MIDI programming and stuff you've done,
and sort of pick out, how I do it, and then obviously it changes when you play it with real people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it sounds better
because you can't tell them what to do quite the same.
Yeah, you got to be careful. With
pros and cons
programming drums because I've made this mistake.
You got to let people do their thing as well because that's how they add the most to it. Especially with Dan, he puts so much of his own flair into things. It's beautiful. I've seen different angles to those songs, drum playing wise. Even though we stuck mainly to this structure, it was like, it was cool getting these Chili Peppers vibes and all these other things come out that I wasn't. It's like, I didn't see it that way, but hearing it like that, it's like, really cool.
No, it's really interesting because I write predominantly like rock and metal stuff, and I'll send some ideas to Dan with drums that I've done. He'd be like, he's like, that's cool. Send me a track without the drums. So I'll send him a track with a click on it, and he'll just come up with something totally different. And I may not like it as much, but it's always like it's interesting how everyone's got a sort of different idea of like.
He puts a lot of thought and effort into it, so it's like I really do appreciate that.
Yeah, no, he's a good guy.
He's a pleasure to work with.
Yeah,
and Chris absolutely as well. He's come on leaps and bounds as a bass player.
Was that Chris? Chris is
he's the bass player. He's
with the glasses.
Yeah, yes, he's my cousin.
Perfect. Yeah,
he's my little cousin by about a year. All 6'7" of him.
Is he that tall as well?
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're a giant as well.
I'm normal size. No. I don't know why people keep saying that.
No. You're sat down and I'm sat down next to you and I'm 2 foot shorter than you still. Still looking up at you.
Normal size.
Like, if you spiked your hair up, you'd like be touching the ceiling. No, Dave's not that tall. That's ridiculous. No, how tall are you?
5'1".
No, fucking whatever. Okay.
And a bit.
I'm like 4 then, 4 foot. You're definitely like 6'7" or something.
Yeah, about 6'7", yeah.
Are you really? Fuck. God damn. So how do you?
We were saying?
Yeah. Oh God, this podcast is going to be it's going to be a podcast.
It's going to be a podcast.
It's going to be an episode.
This is how you're going to learn the most from this podcast.
Yeah, I'm like, okay,
you're going to learn a lot from this.
I'm going to learn how to control my guests and keep it on track.
I'm behaving.
No, it's all good, man. It's all good. It's all natural. Yeah. So compared with, what do you enjoy doing more? Like your cover stuff or your original stuff? Like,
well,
obviously
it
the
depends.
original stuff is like a personal outlet. I would assume, like it's like words
a completely
and tunes from your
different
soul.
It's a completely different meaning to playing original music, even if it's like not your own original music, but you're playing it with other people and writing it together, so it is in part your own sort of heart and soul goes into it, and you're spreading that to people. That's a really beautiful thing. I didn't do that for many. I played on and off for years, but didn't do that until only like a few years ago. I was mainly getting involved. I did a little bit with Jolie and that. Yeah. And then mainly getting involved with Paul and Lee, Gav and all that. Yeah. We played me and Paul and Gav had played with Jolie anyway and mainly cover stuff. Yeah. But we'd done a couple of original things, I think. But then that moved into the Crows and then joined that, and it's all original. Mm-hmm. That's an absolute blast, and especially when it's well constructed songs. Yeah, you can feel the sort of lyrical heart and meaning coming from Lee's construction of it and his, creation. Yeah. A lot of it's his sort of baby, and then the shaping of it and the musical expression of it with Paul. And then everything that Gavin adds to, he's coordinating stuff between the guitar and the bass and the vocals and mixing it into how he's playing the drums and that. And it's like, that's amazing. So do you guys write as a band, or do you all sort of go off and do separate stuff? There's usually a core. I mean, when I joined the band, I sort of just learned what was already there. Yeah, yeah. And then obviously it ends up with inevitably some of your own spin on it. And then a few of the tunes we've written since then, like that Like to Like tune, that's sort of the core riff of that is something I come up with. And then everyone else flashes it out and you end up with a massive, great big finished thing once Paul's worked his ass off on it for ages. Everyone has, but yeah. Ooh, especially Paul. Some noise there. Teething problems. There we go. Sorry. So it's a beautiful thing, and it just comes from the heart differently. Especially playing my own stuff. It's like, it just feels different. It's like it's a very natural expression of yourself. So you can all go away and sort of write parts now and bring it back and I've got this part. Yeah, we'll tend to write stuff in a room. We might find a hooky bit and then flesh that out. Usually it starts with some sort of hook musically, and then we'll have a lyrical idea. Especially in the Crows, Lee will come along with a lyrical idea. And before you know it, that's the verse, chorus, maybe something else. And over time that builders. Yeah. That expands. Not much time. It's like happens relatively quickly. That's one way of writing. It's good to see and get on and do that. Because like I say, in my own sort of space, I'd sort of just write stuff myself, coordinate all of it, start with a blank notepad, usually on a laptop. Okay, do you start with lyrics? Or I might start with lyrics. I do all sorts. I've tried doing that. I have riffs and lyrics and stuff. I'll see a line somewhere, or I'll think of a line will come into my head and think, that's really cool. And then a lot of the time you'll have a line pop up and you think, that's a song. You know? And then you just got to do the work of uncovering what the rest of it is. Yeah. From that. So I've tried doing that, just starting with lyrics as like a songwriting exercise, and then building melody and guitar parts around it. And I found it really difficult. But I'd be watching I was watching an advert one day, and
I can't remember what the advert was about, some political thing. But there was like a line in the advert where it's like their speeches changed the world. And I was like, ooh. I was like, oh, that's a title for a song, that. And I started just like writing this like song about Martin Luther King and Gandhi and stuff. It was awful. But
that's how you get. That's how you get it, though. Like, you just keep plucking
throw
away
a bit
at
of Hitler in there as well. You know,
just
he made a speech. It changed the world.
That's true.
But yeah, it came out awful. But yeah, from like a creative process standpoint, it's you can sort of draw inspiration from everywhere. As I've said before in a previous episode, it's we're all artistic creatures, and we can find inspiration.
We've got something to say.
Stubbing our toe on the wall, for example.
just type ah.
Yeah.
Oh, you could do that.
That's how Disturbed write their music. They just kick walls barefooted. What were you going to say? Sorry.
Fuck knows.
Oh, well, great. We've hit a wall. Just like Disturbed.
Yeah. So rude.
Yeah, I know. Right. So where were we?
Where were we? We were talking about the creative process.
Yeah, well, we already did an episode on that, but what's your, you know, I think...
So, yeah, there's a couple of different ways of doing it. So that's a couple. And then with Men in Verse, usually Alex comes to the table with a lot of his songs he'd had written anyway, which me and Dan have learned and fleshed out. But like often he'll come to the table with a core melodic idea that's usually quite simple, but there's a sort of brilliance to it. I find there's a core, again, it's that hook thing. There's something about it that's just musically, what's the word? Just draws you in. And that's all it takes. You get a simple thing like that and then spread it out, and he'll lyrically spread it out and flesh it all out, and before you know it, you've got songs.
This is going to turn into the Men Invest podcast, because I've got Dan, who's like the main co-host, who's away at the moment. You are the bassist in Men Invest. I've got Alex coming on in the next episode. He's the vocalist. I was in Men Invest. Is there another member? There is now, isn't there? You've got now. So you got a new guitarist. Who's Graham?
He's the new guitarist.
Don't like him. No, I'm joking. No, it's interesting. I saw some videos actually, and of your gig. Was it at the Vic? Was that your first gig with him?
Yeah.
And it's so different to what I was doing.
Such a different approach. He's
I was
a very talented guitarist.
Not that I was like trying to make it like rocky, but
you're amazing, man.
Nah, man.
What
God, I'm always learning. But it's I definitely had like a more rocky.
You definitely got that 80s rock. You can feel the Van Halen-y and the sort of.
I think he's probably better suited to what Alex needs for his project.
Yeah,
sure.
Alex needs more. What's the word? Like I'm trying to demonstrate it with my hands at the moment.
Parkinson's. God, I get cancelled.
The flourishes.
Yeah. Embellishments.
That's the word.
Embellishing the relish.
That's the one. Yeah.
Yeah, I find that really difficult because I'd never joined a band before where they'd had stuff already pre-written. So I was like, okay, how can I contribute to this and make it, I don't want to say better because that's the complete wrong word, but make it like a more full.
Like, how do I fix this?
Yeah. No, not at all.
How on earth do I fix this?
How to bring, make sure I'm bringing something to the table that's, useful to make the band sound a lot more full. Because, you definitely notice it with only one guitarist.
Yeah, the guitarist's got to do a lot of work carrying it if they're on their own. Yeah, for sure. Especially if it was like before, it was just Alex on the guitar. Especially when they break a string.
I don't think we did a gig when I was in that band where Alex didn't break a damn string. Every time I put brand new strings on the guitar.
It's like his signature.
Broke it is, yeah.
I think he's secretly sponsored by Elixir. That's what it is.
So every time I'm like, these are what strings are these, Sean? I'm like, oh, they're Didarios. He's like, oh, okay, I'll make sure I play extra hard to like smash them to smithereens. Oh, that's funny. Yeah, that was a fun day when we were producing in the studio.
Oh,
So I did that track for you. Well, we did a lot of tracks, but we lost them all. It's
Yes, back
unfortunate.
up your stuff, people.
Yeah, please do.
And back it up straight away, and then back it up again.
Back it up again. See, I only backed it up once.
Yeah, that's where you went wrong, isn't it?
Yeah, and all the stems were on the uni computers, which got wiped, and then my hard drive just didn't work. I took it to a professional, and he's like, "Yeah, you ain't getting that back."
Oh,
like, but I still have the bounce of the track that we did by Thread. We're going to play it tomorrow. Me and Alex can talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
What was your experience like on those, couple of weeks that we were doing it? That's the first band I ever recorded as a producer.
It's musicians and timekeeping.
Yes. I wonder what time Alex will be here. Hi, Alex. Piece of shit. I wonder what time he's going to be here tomorrow. I've got him booked in for 6, so he'll probably be here at like 8. You got a joke about it. It's funny. Yeah, no, I think...
it's a guideline, isn't it?
Yeah, I think something I learned whilst doing that is I hate musicians. I hate them. Don't listen.
Who would be a producer, man?
Not me. I've decided that's not for me anymore.
Unrewarding. You got to create an amazing end product in spite of everyone's input.
Yeah.
But it's their thing as well. And it's absolutely a reflection of their heart and art. And you want to capture that.
Yeah, exactly. But
then you have to capture it in spite of
the shortcomings of others.
I don't know.
I mean, hey, no one's perfect. That's the whole point of being a musician. Like, I think for me, I do music because I'm definitely not a perfect
I'm right here,
person.
man.
I'm not a perfect person. And I think my thing to help me deal with my inconsistencies and dickness, I don't know if that's the word, issues in my life is why I play music. I think that's why I started to play music as an outlet and why I still do.
Yeah, man.
So, yeah, it's I mean, I guess it's different for everyone. Is that why do you play music, Martin?
Why do I play music? I don't know. It's just a compulsion.
Money, that's a bad. That's a bad.
If I wanted money, I'd sell my body if I wanted money.
Oh, dude, yeah. Wow,
there's better ways of making money.
You're selling your skills and the time that you've spent learning.
A minimum amount of time I can get away with.
Yeah,
putting into it
for the most amount of money. Yeah, man, that must be stressful. Like having your income come from being in like a million bands. Like I swear, there's not a band in Swindon that you're not in.
I say it doesn't add up to a great deal.
But yeah, it must be stressful. Like being in all those bands and
for the love of it as well.
Yeah.
But I'm in a fortunate position. It's like
Yeah.
I'm topped up with plenty of other things. So.
Yeah, sure. Drug dealer on the side, are you? No, you're definitely
don't
not.
do your own drugs. Whatever drugs you're dealing, don't do them yourself.
I've never so much seen you smoke a cigarette, Martin. So you just do the caffeine. No, you're all well-behaved young man.
You haven't been paying attention at all, have you?
No, well, I was probably usually smashed. Like, where's Martin? Oh, don't worry about it.
You usually left by that time. Are we having another break? Another breakup
with the band. Oh, I'm leaving. Hey, man, it only happened 13 times. Like,
yeah.
No,
you gotta have a hobby.
Yeah, it's being an arse. That's funny. So what sort of, do you know what, actually, this is a question. What kind of music do you actually listen to in your day-to-day life? Like, what are your influences and what are your actual interests? Like?
I used to listen to a lot of Darkness. Love the Darkness.
Oh, God, I wish they'd come back. I wish there'd be more bands like that.
They're around somewhere doing their thing.
Yeah, well, he's got his own YouTube channel now.
Yeah,
I watch it all the time. I'm like, whoa.
During lockdown, they all went to doing that. Just like, all right, you got to be a personality now. It's podcasts and that sort of thing.
See, I've only just jumped on that train. I was the complete wrong time.
Missing the trick.
Yeah. late
Everyone's
bloomer.
not trapped in their houses now.
I know. Now I'm like, right, I'm going to trap myself.
When
in
it
my
is
house.
another pandemic.
Yeah,
You'll
we
be
do.
all right.
I hope there's another pandemic. This time I'll make full use of it. It's
So
crazy.
capitalise on it.
Yeah, when I was working in Bath,
So
and
other
I was,
people
like,
made loads of money on it.
What's that?
Why shouldn't we?
Yeah. Well, it's funny when I was working in Bath and I was helping manage a nightclub. I was so busy all the time, and just the lifestyle just wasn't matching up with like the music stuff. I was just like, I wish everyone would just bugger off, so I could just sit down and play music. And I got my wish, and I didn't utilize it. I just didn't.
Yeah, everyone thought that until it happened.
Yeah, wow.
How many people actually did that when
I think I've got
when the
PTSD
opportunity
every time I think of the
presented itself?
pandemic? I'm like, oh, what an awful time that was for musicians, man. Like,
Yeah.
oh man, no one could have seen that coming. No one. Imagine 10 years coming. Like, there's going to be a time soon where everyone's going to be locked in their rooms. There's going to be no live gigs. Not be allowed to go out your house. Here's some time
these
to
things
chase your hobbies.
Come and go, don't they?
Yeah, well, fingers crossed it doesn't happen again. This music industry is in a bit of a failing state at the moment, especially with live music.
Because everything's shifted to this tiny, narrow band of the really, really successful
Yep.
that have got all of the access and all of the result and success. And then it's accessible to everyone in ways that it's never been before, to make their own stuff and to put it out there.
Yep, by the internet and TikTok and Spotify and home studios.
Yeah. So much stuff.
But as
but the reward for
live band, the grassroots music venues that many famous artists got their start in, like Ed Sheeran, Oasis, so on and stuff. Places where they, got their first gigs are all closing down. Music venues are closing down left, right, and centre. Swindon, for example, is how many are left in Swindon now? 12 bars gone.
I don't know.
That's
It's
gone for years.
Definitely less than there used to be.
Yeah, Riffs Bar, that's not around anymore, is it?
No, I went ages ago.
Yeah, that's what I mean. You've got Level 3 in the Rolleston, which comes and goes like all the time. There's just not many.
It's crazy, man.
And then in Bath, you've got Moles that closed down. You had the Nest that shut down. And these are like venues that have been there for like decades. So it's just like, where do people get their start now? Like, how do they? It's difficult.
The whole world's changed.
I wonder what the solution to that is.
I don't know. It's just evolving, isn't it?
Into what though? What do you think it's evolving into?
It's a lot more accessible to do a smaller amount for individual people.
Do you mean in terms of getting your music out there,
creating
online,
and putting it out
social
there,
media and
online,
stuff? Okay,
and sharing it around. But one thing that someone said that sort of stuck with me was like, you get all these bands that they're working hard to put their EPs out and their albums out, and they put it out, and it's like, and you might get another band listening to them. It's like, yeah, it's great, mate. Here's mine. Yeah, and that's the sort of exchange. It's like,
what's all word of mouth, isn't it? Like, I suppose that's a good thing, I guess, but.
Yeah.
Also, maybe not.
It's everyone's consuming it differently. So because consuming it in a very temporary way off the phone is a background component to other aspects of life. I mean, a friend of mine got some vinyl records out the other day, and she was just looking through her nan's vinyl collection.
Yeah,
and she said, "Yeah, just sit down and listen to it, and you just."
They've come back massively.
It just made me think. It made me think with the cassettes we used to have as kids and all that. You absorb that music, you experience it in such a different way because it's not like a background thing that's just providing an atmosphere, which is, perfectly valid, good thing in itself.
Yeah. But, I listen to a lot of music when I'm at work and I'm working, which I wouldn't have been able to do 20 years ago without the,
brilliant thing.
Music is a lot more consumed, and I think because of its ease of access now, I think maybe we don't appreciate it as much. Like before, the only way you could listen to music was like go to the shop, get the CD or the cassette tape. Yeah. Now, I'll be honest, I've fallen victim to this. Not victim, fallen into that trap without even meaning to do it. I used to buy albums all the time from my favourite bands. Now I'm just like, oh, it's not going to be on Spotify. I'll just listen to
Yeah,
it.
you don't sit down and properly take it in, put time and effort into
Listening to music.
and
yeah.
enjoy that experience, be absorbed in it, you know.
Yeah, I mean,
I miss that a bit.
Going home and just lying on your bed and listening to the music with your headphones in, reading the lyrics. Like, I don't do that anymore because who wants to sit there on their phone reading lyrics?
Well,
I mean, maybe I should do that. God, that's awful, isn't it? But do you know what? I'm part of the problem. I should go back to buying CDs. I've just realised. Uh-oh.
Well, everything's pulling at her attention all the time, isn't it?
Mm.
It's like, yeah.
And because of the ease of access of being able to release your own music now in like various different ways, for basically anyone can write a song and put it up there online now, and it become popular. Kind of dilutes the.
Wait until like AI gets hold of it.
Oh, I mean, Paul talked about. Yeah, man. What are your thoughts on this? I spoke to Paul in the last episode about this. I'd be interested. I'm gonna have to ask this to every guest because it's everyone's got a different. Paul had a really interesting view on it. I won't say yet, but I want to get.
It'd be amazing to just you want to go and write a song. You just type in a few basic parameters or ideas and press a button, and then computer does it all for you. That's fascinating, but it's going to completely devalue everything else that's out there, let alone being able to imitate or knock off other people's stuff or approximate it and release that out there and forge somebody else's work.
Is it art?
Things like that. Is it art? How can it not be art?
Because art would... it's
a different form of art.
I think humans are probably the only beings that are a creative species, like as just part of our nature and what's the word? Not heritage, but we're a creative species. I think we're the only creative species. I mean, I've seen elephants paint and stuff, but I don't know if that counts. But I think that's
where do they keep their brushes?
Yeah,
in a trunk.
God's sake. Did you just come up with that?
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Like cut. Fix it in post.
Yeah, no, I'm leaving that in. That's amazing. Yeah, I mean, to create something would dictate that, one is a human being and one is creating art. I would say that's a completely unique thing to human beings. How can AI created stuff be considered art?
Well, that's it. It's just a regurgitation of so many different ideas and concepts. Does it? What is art? No.
Art is...
I can't ask that question. No. I don't bloody know.
Art is created by human beings to express. Yeah, that's what I mean. AI is not expressing anything. It doesn't have an opinion. It doesn't have thoughts.
But it does make you feel. It does make you feel. Have you seen those 1950s Futurama version of Futurama created by a AI robot and things like Steven Seagal fighting seagulls?
Yeah,
all of that stuff, and it makes you feel, and that's what art is in part supposed to make you feel something, and that's individual to you and your experience. And it used to be also that in part it's about you expressing yourself, That's very much that's important. But it does absolutely change the nature of the soul that's going into it, because it's the collective regurgitation of aspects of that soul from thousands and millions of different people.
We create things like
all jumbled up.
Art, music, like photographs. It's all a reflection of our experiences and how we see the world. When AI does it, it's just like a knockoff version. Like, it's not... I don't know what it's expressing. I really struggle with it, to be honest. I was saying to some friends, like, I think AI has its place, but I think it should probably live in the satirical world. For example, I've mentioned this before, Eric Cartman from South Park singing Bring Me to Life by Evanescence. It's better than the original version. It's amazing. It's better than it has any right to be. Arnold Schwarzenegger singing "Somewhere Over the Rainbow" by Judy Garland. It's amazing.
These are things that we could imagine in the past, but would never experience and listen to and see an equivalent to a sort of real.
I think we're so spoiled
thing.
with technology, we don't know what to do with it, and we're just trying everything.
We
and
don't know
seeing
the
what
possibilities
sticks.
of it yet.
No, well, it's still in its infancy, like largely. Like, I mean, AI music and stuff it's been going on since like the 50s. But it's only recently now where the everyday person can get their hands on it and do stuff with it.
But you could argue
and
as well.
Record companies do it too.
Oh yeah, that's a whole nother.
The Beatles track,
another can of worms. That is.
Yeah, like I mean, what's your stance on bringing vocalists back from the dead, so to speak?
That's got to be weird. That's got to be
having them write or not write. Oh God, having the AI create a song by them in the style of them, like Queen, for example. Imagine a new Queen song came out tomorrow with Freddie Mercury's vocals on it, but it's all AI.
That's it. It's not going to be long, and that'll be absolutely normal. Anything you can imagine like that, you can press a button and it will make it for you.
Wow,
that changes the whole landscape, doesn't it? But you could, in the same way, you could argue like when music first started being recorded, it was like there was nothing like that before. Before that, if you experienced a piece of music being played, it had to be live and in the moment, done by human beings.
People thought that when CDs and stuff came out and cassettes, and when music recordings began, that it was going to ruin live music. It was like a cheapened version of it. Like, people were really worried about this back in the day, from my research, and it couldn't be further from the truth. But
it goes in addition to it.
Yes.
But it does obscure it because so much of your life then becomes around that, where it may in the past have been around the live experience.
Music back then, like for live, like seeing that, like you said, it was the only way you could see it. Now,
but live's still special.
But that's become the treat.
Special.
That's become the treat. Like that's like, okay, that's something I'm going to save up for and have a special, moment with. So, yeah, it's really interesting how times have changed and evolved. It's mad.
And it'll change again.
Yeah, what do you think's next?
Well, sooner or later, it'll be a button you press in your brain. Nothing happens in the real world.
Yeah.
All just a concept.
How do we know that's not already happened?
Yeah, but it's the Matrix question, isn't it?
Oh.
So is this a simulation?
I hope not.
So
actually, no, or do I hope it is, so that, when I move on to the next thing, I can be like, wow, that was messed up. That was the best video game I've ever played. Or the worst. I don't really know. Yeah, it was like Black Mirror or something, or like you said, The Matrix.
So yeah, it's just a change in landscape. Ever evolving. But the soul of it is different. It's the collective soul of thousands of different people. And obviously it will be shaped into something that's a marketing tool rather than anything else.
Yes, a way for record companies to make money.
And obviously propaganda and things like that.
Yeah. Oh, are you talking about like deep fakes and things like that?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was talking to Paul about this. Again, very good. Sometimes they catch me out. I'm like, what?
He's really good, isn't he? You can almost believe he was a real boy.
Who?
Paul.
Paul is a deep fake, yeah. He's like Pinocchio or something. So where did your music taste and stuff actually come from? Was it with your parents, like friends? Did it come from media, like watching movies? Or?
A lot of it come from my parents. We used to grew up on Eagles and Beatles stuff mainly.
Yeah.
Because my dad was into it, and that was sort of what was around the house.
God, this is crazy. Everyone I've spoke to so far, it's like their musical influence, like their music taste came like from their parents. That's usually always the answer.
You're
it's
supposed
not
to
like
have
that with me, so I'm just like, man, what the like? Is there something wrong? Like,
you're supposed to have a rebellious phase, and I kind of, sort of, very gradually drew that out, and then got to like late teens, and we had American Idiot on constantly.
Yeah.
Green Day album.
Spoke about this before. I've been listening to that actually.
Great.
Do you know what? I've got Jordan coming on in a couple of episodes' time, and we're going to be talking about concept albums. An American Idiot popped into my head straight away, and I've been listening to that
That
a
was
lot.
bloody everywhere. That was.
Yep, that was massive, and
I loved it.
Oh God, no, I didn't at the time. It's one of those things where it was everywhere, and it just started to annoy me. Well, actually, I've always liked it, like deep down. I've actually sat down. I've been listening to that album over and over again, like the past sort of week or two, and it's phenomenal. Like, it really is. It's such a great album. All the songs are so catchy. Like, every song has something to say. There's a story. There's a point to it. Yeah, they're just brilliant. What a well-made album. That's all I have to say about that.
Yeah. I went through so that sort of phase with things. I had a phase where I liked my brother was into massively into Def Leppard and Van Halen, and I just sort of tuned it out for most of the time. But eventually got around to, at one point I did put a band together doing all the sort of rock music I hadn't played. And just did all the obvious things, cover band stuff and all that. To me, obvious things, all the usual sort of Pub Stanley, Paranoid and all that. And the Sandman. To me, at the time, it seemed a bit standard.
All the popular stuff.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
And that was great doing that. It's just sort of solidified all that. And then moving on from that, played in a ska band in recent times. That was good.
Well, you're in one. Men Invest, sort of
yeah.
ska.
A lot of ska influences in that.
Yeah.
And that's a genre I was not familiar with at all. But to see the passion that people have for it, absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely.
Get up and skanking away.
Skanking away. I love that saying.
Brilliant.
What are you doing? I'm skanking. Right, okay. What even is skanking?
I wrote that song "Skanking in the Shower."
Oh yeah,
that was great.
I remember that. That's one of the ones you showed me.
Yeah, I sent you that.
Yeah,
sent you the music for it.
Yeah, like all the MIDI and stuff.
Yeah,
like, this is called "Skanking in the Shower." I was like, I see.
I just had the image of just like you get all these skinhead types that are just like absolutely mad for it. When they're skanking about, and you just see them. You just. Having a massive dance that silly
in the shower,
big old full on dance just in the shower. It's like where it's clearly
the song's 2 minutes long because they slipped in the shower and broke their neck, and that's the end of it. It's a 2-track album. It's a short drop and a sudden stop, as they say.
Yeah, but I like a lot of rock music mainly. All sorts of rock stuff. Yeah,
like I said, The Darkness.
I tend to pick based on the singers. More the sort of tone of voice and their attitude and delivery I'm drawn to, especially if there's something a little different.
Miles Kennedy?
Not so much Miles Kennedy.
Sacrilege.
I do like him. He's good.
He's one of the best vocalists out there in rock music. It's weird. A lot of the rock bands now are they're all like American ones, like all the ones I'm into. It's really hard to find like popular rock bands in England. Like we do the whole Britpop and indie thing over here.
Yeah.
So we've obviously got like the Arctic Monkeys.
We've got a lot of indie stuff that's quite.
Yeah, that's popular. Like
indie's cool.
The British music.
It's not really my
now.
thing.
I mean, it used to be like
good standard stuff,
punk and like rock, like with The Darkness and Def Leppard are English, aren't they?
Yeah, very well and truly.
Iron Maiden.
Oh, I was in a Nawabin band for a while, new wave of British heavy metal. That's bloody good stuff. It's just
what was the acronym?
Just fun
you just
stuff.
Said Nawabin.
Nawabin.
New wave and British heavy metal.
New wave of British heavy metal.
Okay,
and that's all the sort of.
Please educate me. What's this?
Sort of Iron Maiden.
Oh, okay, yeah, fair enough.
What's the best examples of that? Saxon and all that sort of stuff.
God, that's a name I hadn't heard for years. Saxon. Rainbow, is that another one?
Yeah,
is that
sort of
British?
Thing. Yeah, that sort of thing.
Oh, God.
It's just the best fun. Rock music is the best fun to play, and it's the best fun to sing. And you want to sound like a caricature of some sort.
I mean, to me, that's the definition of like music for me. Is like rock and roll. Like
it's about having a party and having a good time.
Yeah, like when I listen to a lot of modern stuff now, I'm like, I find really hard to like relate to it, and I'm just like, what is this? I don't know if it's just because I'm not of the times anymore, or
there's the rebellious element to it as well.
In what sense? put you on the spot now. I'm like, please elaborate on your hypothesis.
Where were we?
Rebellious sense.
Just before
of,
then.
rock music and how it's awesome.
Yeah,
how it's struggled to relate to modern music,
it's
like stuff in the charts.
It's consumed differently now, so it's like a lot of it is quite sanitized pop music, but it's all mixed in now.
But
lots of people are liking
who
stuff.
do really relate to it. I just don't understand it. I'm trying to think of like someone who's like a modern pop artist. Do you know what? I really like Lady Gaga. I don't care.
I like Lady Gaga.
She's cool, man. I've done a lot of covers of her stuff years ago, and I turned
so many different influences
songs.
in there.
Yeah. Imogen Heap is like another one. I don't know if you ever heard of her, but she does loads. She's got loads of crazy production stuff, like layering of vocals and like that sort of stuff, like Bjork. See, I like all that weird stuff.
Uh-huh.
Like, yeah, I mean, I've definitely got like a really varied music taste. Like I guess like my brother kind of did influence me in a way because he grew up listening to like Westwood mixes, like Tim Westwood, and lots of drum and bass and stuff like that. And from that, I kind of really got into liquid drum and bass, which is like normal drum and bass, except it's pianos and stuff in the background. It's like a lot more chill.
Cool. I'll go. I'll listen to some of that techno trance stuff when I'm driving, like late at night if it's 1 a.m.
Yeah,
it's just a sort of vibe that goes with it. I've never been really into it, but mate of mine used to listen to a lot of it and sort of spent a few interesting evenings sat with them, just absorbing it, getting absorbed in that vibe and getting into that part of the brain that's feelings rather than thoughts.
Yeah.
Getting absorbed in that. That's really cool.
Do you remember the first CD that you ever owned?
I can't remember the first one, but one of the early ones I bought was a James Blunt one.
Really?
Back to Bedlam.
And then you went and had a semi by the sea.
I started with a semi.
He was in the army.
He was. I love listening to his stuff.
Yeah, I haven't listened to him in a long time. He's got such a unique singing voice.
Yeah. Love all that falsetto-y stuff. Especially swap around a lot in it. So a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and then a little bit of this, and then over there, and back again.
Semi by the sea. It's
all character and emotion.
Yeah, that's a good tune actually. That's I'm gonna have to go and listen to some James Blunt.
I had a Kaiser Chiefs album, and I thought it was awful.
Is that the one where like I predict a riot?
I think it was that one, yeah. But like most of the songs on it were like, all right, well, it's clearly been produced and they're clearly like playing instruments and all that, but it just sounded completely devoid of any lyrical content somehow. There was a lot of na-na-na-na-nas and stuff like that, which there's nothing wrong with.
Like the Fratellis.
But when when it's in the absence of it having any real sort of lyrical grounding, point behind a lot of it. It just felt like, we need this many songs.
Huh.
So I wasn't a fan of that.
Here's a question for you. So do you have any what's the word? Any musical education background? Are you like
that's a good question.
Well,
no.
You're the first one. Yeah, you'll be the first one who I've had on who hasn't really.
No,
I like to say I'm a self-taught guitarist, and in part, I definitely am. But I definitely had guitar lessons, college and stuff. But there's all stuff I really struggled with because I was just like, I don't want to learn any of this shit. It's all in A minor. Like, it's so boring.
I mean, you don't use most of it. You can use a lot of it. There's a lot of stuff that it would be useful if I did know. I don't read music and things like that. The same as, a lot of musicians, but
I used to be able to sight read. I can't do it anymore.
Would be a useful skill if I had it. So knuckle down and learn to read, kids.
Do your homework.
But no, I did.
Thing is, if there's no rules, then you can't. You don't have to worry about sticking to them, and you can do what you want.
Well, a lot of the stuff I have seen is frameworks for those intuitive emotional rules, and I see a lot of people get sort of trapped in learning a small amount of it and then trying to stick to those rules rather than genuinely creating within that. But it definitely helps to have a framework of understanding.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Like for example, with me is I don't know any music theory. I really struggle with the names of chords. If you said play me a B diminished, I'd be like what? And I don't know. I'm like I don't even really know the notes up the guitar on the fretboard. Like, I really don't. I don't know what. Like, I mean, if I sat down, I was like, okay, this is, but like on the fly, like you wouldn't be able to point to a note and be like, what's that note? I don't know.
It is useful to be able to communicate it with other people.
Yeah. Well, I've had this experience before where like Alex is like in Men Invest, Alex is like, oh, it's an E chord or something. And I'm just like, what? Show me what you're playing. I'm like, okay, cool. And like, well, it's interesting with Alex because like some of his chords, for example, I don't want to say the word don't work. There's been times where I've had to sort of been
they
like,
shouldn't work.
They shouldn't work. And I'm like, okay.
But some of them do.
Lift this finger up.
They shouldn't.
Yeah, lift it. Yeah, some of it works, some of it doesn't. Like, but lift this finger up. I think this is what you're trying to do. There's like a lot of two chords that are going together that are just like, okay, on their own don't work. But when he's like singing, they work in the context of the song. It's really interesting. So that's something I struggled with, and still do now. It's like just the rules and the theory of things. I'm just like, I know what a particular scale I'm using because I know the sound, what it sounds like. I'm like, oh, this sounds Egyptian-y, so this is Phrygian dominant, or this is sad, so this is a minor scale. This is happy. This is Ionian like mode, and so on and so forth. So
yeah, I'm sort of. Assembled various teachings from how my dad played and stuff I've learnt myself and various different people I've played with over the years. Although mainly I'll just sit in a room with it and sort of I need enough understanding of what I'm doing from other people. But then after that, it was just a case of sitting in a room with it and doing it myself until I got a good idea. Obviously, you pick up, Dad had a big influence on that because he's, things like timekeeping and stuff like that. You don't necessarily understand.
That's something you definitely need
other
to.
People.
That's like the number one thing. Like play to a click or drum machine. Get your timing right.
So there's a lot went on with that sort of stuff.
Nothing worse than a bassist out of time. I think it's even worse than a drummer.
People think they can hide it with a bass player.
No, man.
And you just get this.
That's what I mean. Bass, you feel
everything.
like you don't just hear bass. Like for bass, you've got to like listen. You've got to like listen out for it more. But it's more of like you feel bass. So if something's not right, you're like, God, I can feel out time like in my bones. Like Jesus, sort it out. Whereas you can deal with like an odd like stick like hit being missed, like snare hit being missed or something. You're just like, oh, that sounded not right. When something doesn't feel right, that's worse. Good Lord. I think that's. I think we're about at the end of it, Martin. What do you think?
Yeah. What else do we want to talk about?
I don't know. You got any life lessons? Any
life lessons? Ooh.
For musicians?
Yeah, I mean, don't expect to make a lot of money.
Hey, man, you choose to do this full time.
Yeah, it ain't about that. It's about the love and the joy and the passion.
No, absolutely. I think I'd agree with that. Don't become a musician if you think you're going to get rich, because that's not how it works.
And if you do get into being a musician, it's like a compulsion. You just can't stop. And you can leave it for a while, but you do inevitably gravitate around to it again.
Yeah.
Because it's just...
Well, that's what I was saying. Like throughout the whole of the pandemic, I did not touch my guitar, really, unless it was to noodle. As soon as it ended, I was like, do you know what? I was like, I'd sort of just gravitate back to this. And I went back and to do my master's. Like, music's exciting. It takes you in a lot of different...
And you meet so many beautiful, wonderful, interesting, creative people.
Mm-hmm.
So many. Strong characters.
Like me.
Exactly.
Like Paul, like yourself. Yeah.
So many. There are too many to mention. If I start mentioning them, I'll be doing it all day because there's so many. But
so, is there anyone that you would like to come on and have a chat? Anyone you'd like to, hear?
Yeah, I think it would be interesting to speak if you spoke to my brother.
Graham.
He's called Gray as well.
Gray.
Different Gray from one in Men Invest.
Yes.
He's in a band called Hair Supply,
Hair Supply.
doing 80s rock stuff.
Oh,
all the Thunderstrucks
That's
and
great.
Wasp and
That's such a
stuff
cool
like
name
that.
for an 80s, like,
That's a great name.
80s cover band.
He's been in a few tribute bands. Is it not Evanescence? What's the other one? I can't remember what they're called.
Within Temptation?
No.
It's just 'cause you mentioned Evanescence. I was like,
I
okay, what
should
could you have got confused with Evanescence?
And he's planning on doing a Def Leppard tribute at some point.
That's cool. Is they going to cut his drummer's arm off?
I think that would be a
The drummer's only got one arm.
big commitment.
Is Def Leppard the drummer's
Very
he's only
dedicated drummer.
got one arm, isn't it? I'm not making that up.
That's true.
Yeah, God.
It's
I
not.
worried then. I was
it's
like,
not compulsory
no,
for
mate,
a tribute band.
That's not a legit tribute band unless you know.
You can just put one behind your back, but is that like
AC/DC
Disablist?
tribute bands? The guitarist is in schoolboy outfit. If you're in a Def Leppard tribute band, you must cut your arm off if you're the drummer. I won't have it.
Yeah, there's not many Def Leppard tributes about.
No. What's his tribute band, Def Leppard, going to be called?
God knows.
Blind Panther. Right, okay, cool. I think that's all we got time for today, guys. But thank you for listening. If you're in the Swindon area, you can see Martin in Men Invest on the 23rd of May at the Victoria in
Indeed.
Old Town.
And the Crows, don't forget.
And the Crows, sorry, and the Crows. That's Paul's band who was on the previous episode. We mentioned that too. So you've had 2 reminders to go and see the band now and see the faces behind the voices on this podcast because, no cameras at the moment. Soz. We don't need that. You don't need to see this. Okay, bye.
Bye.